Endurance Junkie Podcast, episode 119, brought to you by Precision Hydration, who offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalize your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get your first box or tube of pH for free by using the code JUNKIE on their website. Hey Junkies, how are you doing? My name is Peter and thanks for joining me on a new episode of the Endurance Junkie Podcast, the show where I will be interviewing some of the fastest, smartest, and most inspiring people active in the endurance world today. Now before we get going with today's show, I would quickly like to thank Precision Hydration for supporting. Now if you want to understand why Precision Hydration exists and why it's important to personalize your hydration strategy, I suggest you do two things. First of all, listen to my interview with their founder Andy Blow in episode 115. You can find the link in the show notes, where we talk about Andy's own athletic career and how his performance has been held back by hydration problems caused by his extremely salty sweat, and how that led him to founding Precision Hydration in the first place. And secondly, take their free online sweat test at precisionhydration.com to get personalized hydration advice for your next race. It can be crucial to your performance, so make sure to go check that out. Now, Precision Hydration make excellent drink mixes. My guest today, Josh Sprague, makes excellent products to carry those drink mixes, as he's the founder and CEO of Orange Mud Hydration Packs. Now, Josh is a tech and gear guy who has spent years racing ultramarathons and Ironman triathlons, mountain bike and gravel races, and simply traveling all over the globe in search of adventure. So hi Josh, thanks for coming on the show here today. Now for those of us who don't know you, can you start off by telling us a bit about yourself and your own sporting background?
Sure, man. Well, thanks for having me on. Really excited to chat with y'all. My name's Josh Sprague. I'm the founder of Orange Mud. We make hydration packs for runners and bikers and all sorts of athletes. And I personally started my athletic career in the adventure racing space probably 15 years ago, and did a whole bunch of adventure racing, and then got into endurance mountain bike racing, ultra racing, Ironman, kind of pretty much everything. And just love to get outside and explore and kind of live my life that way.
So where did that love for endurance sports come from?
So I grew up a country boy in Kansas, and growing up as a country boy, you really didn't have anything else better to do. It's like, hey, Dad, I want to go hang out with my friends, and my dad would be like, okay, well, you can walk there. I mean, it's 5 miles to your closest neighbor across the pastures, but so as a consequence, I would just go fishing and hunting and hiking all the time outside, and it's just it really becomes a way of life when you grow up in the country, just to live off the land or live on the land and appreciate it for what it is. So as I got older and moved to the city and was living in Phoenix, Arizona, working, I just needed something to really tie in my roots, I guess, and that's what kind of got me jumping into a lot more ultra running or endurance running, marathons, and then tying in the whole adventure race space to it, which definitely provides a level of excitement that is a little bit atypical for a lot of endurance sports.
So were you pretty competitive at these races, or was it just for fun?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. When we started, we signed up. I found some guys on the internet and said, hey, I'd like to go and do this 6-hour adventure race in Southern California. And do you guys want to do this? And it was this adventure racing Yahoo News group or something years ago. And we went out, we did the first race, and out of, I think, 500 teams, we came in like 35th or something. And I was, I was mountain bike racing then, but I was really rookie status. And it really all the way around, I was kind of rookie status. But we still came out, really pretty high up. So then next thing you know, we started building out our team. Probably had about 7 or 8 of us in typical rotation, depending on which state the race was in. And I really was doing mountain bike racing and adventure racing at the same time, which adventure racing is a component of mountain bike racing, trail running, all via map and compass, often kayaking, maybe some rock climbing and such. And so really tying all the sports together on a daily basis next thing you know, we really became competitive because all of us were hitting it really hard in the same scenes. And yeah, we were on the podium a lot. We were pretty much always top 10, and I've done somewhere around 100 adventure races. And yeah, generally top 10 on the podium, top 3 winning races quite a few times, or a number of times. And, I definitely thoroughly enjoyed the sport. It's unfortunately just kind of died off here in the U.S. And I know it's still big, internationally, but unfortunately the U.S. has just lost its steam in that space.
Yeah, I've got a couple of these adventure races here in Belgium, and it's getting bigger and bigger. But yeah, I think a lot of people went over to these Spartan type races. Yeah,
Spartan's definitely taken a lot. I think the challenge with adventure racing is that you have to coordinate a team. And I mean, I was essentially I love my teammates, but I was the manager of the team, so I was also the banker, and that just got to be frustrating. Where we're constantly, I'm like, okay. So and so you owe me $750, and so you owe me $3,000, and because you constantly have to coordinate these teams, and that's just it's a lot of work. I mean, it really became a job, and I think that's where the OCR side has taken off because it's you can just sign up and go. You can compete with your friends, you can compete by yourself. If somebody doesn't show, that's okay. You can still compete with the other people that showed. So yeah, it's amazing to see how the OCR side has really taken off. And again, even the sport of ultra running, a lot of ex-adventure racers that I know, that's what they do now is ultra running, because even mountain bike endurance racing is kind of dried up. So just like anything, it seems like sports ebb and flow. And on the OCR side here in the U.S., in my opinion, it's already starting to shrink a bit. It's just you don't hear people talking about it as much anymore. So I'll be curious to see where the next evolve is.
Yeah, it could come from everywhere. Could come from anywhere.
Yeah.
How much training were you doing then at the time? And yeah, was that sort of organized? Did you work with a trainer and coach, or was that just going out and just doing stuff?
Yeah, we kind of put the farm boy logic to it, and that's that we were racing a lot and we needed to probably train a lot. So it wasn't the train smarter, not harder philosophy that a lot of people are doing now, which I appreciate. But back then it's just like, hey, it's Tuesday. We have 3 hours. Let's go for a 3-hour bike ride and then run afterwards. And, or it's Saturday. Let's just go to the lake and paddle all day. I mean, we didn't have exactly a strategy, but really, I think when strategy came into play was back in 2005. I signed up for my first Ironman, and that actually scared me a little bit. It was kind of funny that only a 12-ish hour race would scare me, given that we were used to racing for days on end. But it's different when you mix in swimming, and a lot of people just aren't a endurance-based swimmer. So I hired coaches back then, and they put me on a training plan, and it was neat. And I pretty much always stuck with it. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays bike, Monday, Wednesday, Friday run, and then my big run would be maybe on a Sunday, or big swims and whatnot. And I pretty much always stuck to that. I like to alternate my days between sports now, between bike and run, and I think that's really when it all finally got a little bit systemized.
Yeah. So was it just the swimming that sort of scared you in Ironman training?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, bike and run we did all the time anyway, but yeah, the swimming side, I swam actually quite a bit even back then, but I didn't have the right technique. So to swim like 200 yards in the pool, I'd be wiped out. And once I finally got the technique down, I mean, I could go swim 4,000 meters today, and it wouldn't be a big deal. And I haven't even swam in 6 months. So it's amazing what technique does. But I tell you, one of the coolest parts about that is that it made me think, okay, well, there's a technique for swimming that makes swimming easier. There's obviously techniques for biking to make biking easier. I wonder if there's techniques for running to make running easier. I mean, and it sounds stupid because all of us can run, but you see, when you go do a marathon or whatever, you'll see tons of people running and have terrible form, and yet they just are out there enjoying it, and that's great. This is not to knock on it, but I think there's things you can learn from having coaches that makes you realize even the simplest sports, the ones you think you know the most about, they can fix you and hopefully get you to where you're going to be more injury free and faster, stronger, smarter with your racing.
Was that the case for you in your running?
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember they videotaped me on a treadmill, and I basically I don't move my left arm very much, and then as a consequence, I dip my right hip and I slam my right foot into the ground. And as a consequence, I've often damaged on road marathons. I don't seem to do it on trails. I think you get away with a little more, but on pavement, I've hurt my right foot quite a few times, and probably 3 or 4 different races now. And yeah, I've actually, it's that typical thing where you need to fix it, and you get drills to fix it, and then you don't do a good job with it. Well, last year in the Leadville 100 ultra marathon, I broke my right 4 bones in my right foot about mile 20, and I stuck it out till 72 which was just stupid. But afterwards, I finally went to a PT and said, okay, give me a plan to fix this, and I'm going to be good, and I'm actually going to do it, and I have. I think we're so often like that, where you may be hurt, but it's not until you're really hurt that you'll actually listen. So it took 10 years, I guess, maybe, for me to finally listen, but I am listening now, and I'm finally dialing that piece of form in.
Okay. Now I got a couple of years now. I'm sort of struggling with a bit of an injury in my core, in my abdomen, and I know I need to do these like stabilization exercises and stuff like that, but they're so boring. But I have to do them, because if I go out running and I can go out and run and do 2 or 3 sessions, but then it all comes back and I have to go to the PT again, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of it, but I need to do these exercises, but I need to get motivated somehow. Don't know how I'm going to do it, but
it's hard. Yeah, I puked in an ultra, 3 or 4 years ago, and I tore my piriformis, which sounds like it's quite similar in the space where yours is. And I tell you what, man, that freaking hurt. And it's just, there's these stupid things that I knew I should have been doing more core work. I wasn't. And then, I firmly believe that's why it happened. It was just a lack of core. But, no one wants to do core unless you really have something happen. Then all of a sudden you try to fix it. And then once you're back good again, you stop. I mean, it's like working out when you're single. You work out a ton, you get looking fit, and then you go partying all the time looking for girls, and then you get a girl, and then you stop working out, and then you break up with girl, and she breaks up with you, and you do the same thing again. And I'm married now, so I just try to stay healthy to be healthy. But I'm thinking back, when I was younger, I would often do that, just like a lot of my buddies would. And it's just funny how we ebb and flow based upon the demands that are external to us.
Yeah, maybe I should sign up to some stupid race or something, and then might get me back into things. Also, a reason why we have you on the show here today is because you're one of the founders or the founder of Orange Mud hydration packs. Where did that inspiration come from to start your own company there and start developing these products?
So it came from two sources, really. So one, I've always told people it's ironic. I basically own a running company, because we sell to about 90% of our base is runners, and we have a growing cycling space. But I've always hated running. I have a love-hate relationship with running. And so for me, adventure racing all those years, we were hauling around all these heavy packs, and you have the ability when you're racing to stare at your teammates' back. I mean, you're racing for hours and hours on end, and always with the team. So as I stared at my teammates' backs, I always noticed where the packs moved and why they were moving. And it just comes down to your basic your body's design. Your upper back doesn't move very much. Your middle thoracic region kind of twists a little, and then your hips really swing wildly. So I always thought, like, man, if I built a pack to mount up really high on your shoulders, there's just not going to be any movement to make it move. So it took forever to actually take action on it, but in 2012, my boy was born, and I was a VP of a medical device company. My wife's a lawyer, and so between the two of us, one of us had to give. We both couldn't work 70-hour weeks with our newborn kid. So one night I just said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna build a pack. I've wanted to make this for years, and it was out of frustration actually from doing an Ironman St. George that year before my boy was born, where I was really like at apex of frustration with that pack, with just any packs. So then it was shortly after my boy was born. I was like, I'm going to build this pack. It'd be great for triathlon, and maybe decent for trail running too. And so I went in the garage and just kind of destroyed some stuff and built the first prototype, which looked terrible. And I told her, hey, we're gonna start a pack or a company. It's going to probably cost $50,000, and worst case scenario, we'll have 2 packs perfectly designed for us, worth $25,000 each. And best case, we'll actually sell some stuff and you can run it. And that's kind of how it all got started. It was kind of a mix of wants and needs. And then, yeah, it's just taken off from there.
Yeah. So, yeah, what are some of the challenges that you had to deal with during that the whole product development process?
Well, the first was finding somebody to make your stuff.
Yeah.
Like you always hear people say, well, you may not hear it as much in Belgium, but here in the U.S., you hear people say, oh, you should make stuff locally and always beat the local drum. But I tell you what, when there's certain times, there's a reason why there isn't a market for making stuff local. It's because people won't pay for it local. And, we did source local. We beat that whole drum too. I mean, that's what my background was, manufacturing in the U.S. and all these making these life-saving medical device implants and such. And so, it took a lot to convince. I had to convince people to work with me. And I literally I was throwing around money like, look, I'll give you $5,000 to help me build a prototype. And they were like, we're not really interested. I mean, it was just so hard to pay people money to help me make a product when that's their job, except they liked working with military and medical. All of us on the commercial side, they know in the end you'll go overseas and they don't have any desire to work with you. So it was the biggest roadblock was simply finding somebody that could work with me. And then once we did, we developed a great relationship domestically, and it got the whole brand kicking, and it was great. But that was definitely the biggest hurdle, is simply figuring out who will actually help us make stuff.
Yeah, and those first prototypes, were they well received by the people who tested?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we actually we had our first event at Half Ironman Arizona, and the second was Ironman Arizona the month later. And yeah, we sold a ton of product, which was awesome. And we actually last year we were back at Ironman Arizona, and one of the first few people, this girl Kari, that had ever bought one of our packs, I remembered her, and she just I don't know, something about her made me remember her. And I was like, Kari, you bought our pack back in 2012, and she's like, yeah. I mean, I'm sure she was probably like, what's up with this stalker that remembers me? But it was at the time, I remembered most of the sales at that time. When you put your life and heart and soul into something, and then you actually have people pay you for it, it's special. I mean, it really was neat. And to go to those first two events and see all these people buy them, go off and do the race. One guy proposed at the end of the Ironman wearing our HydroQuiver pack, which is kind of hard to miss because it's a bottle-based pack mounted on your back. And he proposed to his girlfriend there at the finish line, and using our pack. I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. so yeah, it was an amazing adaptation to the market, because it's a different take on a hydration pack design. But that being said, it was a lot easier selling to consumer. Retail definitely was really hard, because they're like, well, why would you put a bottle on the back? And I'd say, well, why would you put a bottle in the front? And they're like, well, that's just because that's the way the packs are made. I'm like, well, does that make it right? Mm-hmm. So it was really hard carving out. We realized we designed something that wasn't on the market. And although I thought that would be easy, it wasn't. That actually, if anything, made it more complicated.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, the podcast here, it started for me as a marketing tool for this clothing brand I used to have, Endurance Junkie. And yeah, we started using sport wool and smart wool in these tri-suits. And yeah, you can easily convince some customers about the product and why it's such a good idea to use wool in a suit. But yeah, once you go to these retailers or even clubs, it becomes a lot more difficult. So I can definitely relate to that. And I hope Orange Mud will do a lot better than Endurance Junkie, because I wasn't able to compete against these big brands anymore. Even though I did source it to Eastern European countries for production, but well, you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Yep, it is. It's a tough battle. Our biggest success was that, like, our hydration packs, we probably never would have succeeded had we not developed this product called the Transition and Seat Wrap. It's a changing towel and seat cover. And, we big props to Runner's World magazine. They featured us as Gear of the Year in December 2013. And for that product. And that month we landed 100 stores, just that month. And it's just massively taken off from there. So what that did, it gave us brand credibility, to consumers, but also to retail. And then it worked backwards with all of our packs. So, it's all those little turning points that you need, and we just got some decent press here and there with our packs. And then next thing you know, the packs took off. And then, now we have, I don't even know how many SKUs of packs we have anymore. We've got a lot, but it's a tough world to compete. I think a lot of people see these Kickstarter campaigns that take off, and we funded $9 million on a new pocket knife. And it's like, I don't know how they do it. I wonder how real some of it even is, but it isn't easy starting a brand. It takes a lot of work. We're year 6 and it's finally jamming and we're very happy. But them first few years, it's like, okay, we're going to put another $100,000 into this this year. So it takes a lot of determination, a lot of capital. But yeah, every once in a while you get the right break and it makes it happen.
No, it's kind of funny that you actually then broke through with a product that's not even your core product.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. I mean, it is still a core product, but to me, it's like I spent 5 minutes designing that. Yeah. I usually spend 10 months designing every pack. So to me, when people are all excited about it, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. It's a neat product. But look at our packs. I'm like, these are my babies. Yeah. I love them. But yeah, it's funny how sometimes the simplest things are what people gravitate to. So yeah, it's frustrating, but.
So how does it feel to be out there racing with something that you designed yourself? I always found it weird myself when I was still competing in triathlon and was wearing my own suits. I don't know. It kind of felt strange. Do you have that too? No, not at all. Okay, I love every bit of it. It must be me then.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Last year. I raced a lot last year. It was really, with having kids in a business and all, I was kind of racing, but I mean, it was just, I was enjoying just having fun. There was nothing competitive at all. Last year was the first year back after about 5 years off of nothing serious. And though I wasn't super competitive last year, I did some really big events: Leadville 100 mountain bike, Leadville 100 run, Hawk 100 run, Silver Rush, Dirty Kansas 200. I mean, a bunch of big events. And this year I'm doing all the same, plus a whole bunch more. And it was so exciting last year being out on the trails and seeing our packs and gear on course. But then it was even more cool to be like, hey, dude, how do you like your pack? I'm like, well, I like it quite a bit. And people are like, I've always meant to look at that. And, the bottles are the easy to reach or whatever pack I was wearing. And I'd be like, yeah. I was like, in fairness, just so you know, I am the owner and designer of all this. But yeah, I mean, this is where it's at. And it was so cool because people were so excited, like, wow, you're actually racing too? And I'm like, well, who wouldn't? I mean, who would just design this stuff and not be out there? But I guess there's, you don't have that same tie with some of the other big brands, of course. You're probably never going to meet the CEO of whoever, big brand XYZ, out racing on course. And then that'll also chat for 30 minutes during the race with you about it. So, I was running up the Leadville. It was actually going up Hope Pass and Leadville 100 last year. And it was so cool. I actually took a couple selfies on it because I had 2 guys in front of me wearing my packs and 3 guys behind me wearing my pack, and then me in the middle. And it was awesome. I'm like, I love all you guys. You guys are all wearing my packs. I'm like, thank you so much. And then I actually raced for probably 3 hours with one of the guys, and even had to follow up emails after the race. And so I think it's been one of the most amazing things ever to be using the gear. And then for me, I mean, just like you, I've got kids and wife, busyness. Life's always crazy, and I get to tell my wife, like, hey, like yesterday, I had to go do an 81 mile bike ride yesterday because I had to test out a new pack that I'm working on and some new kit that I have, a new bib and jerseys we're working on. So no, it makes me have to do things that I want to do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and besides, obviously, I mean, if you see that your business is doing well and the money's coming in and you're able to grow your business, it's all nice and well. But yeah, if you can listen to that positive feedback that you get from your customers, and I mean, the satisfaction that you get from that is you can't compare it to anything else.
Yeah, and in the end, there's plenty of designs I've made that I thought were awesome, and I found them to be awesome up to maybe 15 miles, and then when I do a 20 or 30 mile ride or run, all of a sudden I realized like, oh yeah, this far in, this doesn't work like it did in mile 10. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that I found racing where I've just fixed issues, or I've been like, okay, well, where am I going to put this now? I've streamlined this pack down so small that it's missing the place to put my headphones, or whatever it may be. And so there's a lot that you value from that. And then again, I do ask everybody I meet, I ask them, what do you think of that pack? It's usually the very first words out of my mouth. I'm like, hey man, what do you think of that pack? And I look for feedback before I generally tell them who I am, mm-hmm. because I want to hear the positive or the negative. And, fortunately it's almost always positive, but if there's ever critique, I take it and I go back, I make notes and I improve on it. And it's the constant evolve to what we've done is really from outside communication.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Where does the name come from actually? Because Orange Mud. I mean, I associate it with, of course, trail running. Yeah. So simple as that. So my middle name is Clay, and I always thought that was so cool. And when I never got to use it, obviously, it was my middle name. So when my boy was born, we didn't even release the name of him until it was I think he was 3 days old. It was we were getting ready to leave the hospital, and I kept telling my wife, I'm like, I want to name him Clay. It's so cool. She's like, no, your name's a stupid name. And no, we're not going to do that. So then, 3 months later, when I was starting the business, I was like, hey, sweetie, okay, we're going to start this business. And by the way, my name is going to be in it. And she's like, whatever, knock yourself out. And I just couldn't make Clay work. But I did buy 42 domain names that night. And one of them, 7 Clay and all these other cool names, which I thought were neat. But Clay, which is a mud. And then I grew up in Kansas where there's a lot of reddish, orangish clay. And that's how it kind of, as I drank more and more wine that night, and Orange Mud kind of came together. No, that's a good name. It sticks, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the goal.
Awesome. What are your objectives there with the company? What's coming? What's in the pipeline?
So we last year had released a bunch of new products, a lot, 50 or something. That's a lot. But we rounded out our portfolio a lot last year, which that was really the whole goal is creating a business that is diverse. And, I, being a multi-sport guy, it always pained me to have just running packs because I am a mountain biker too. I love it. And, I like to go to the gym and swim. I'm a triathlete too. And so, as we've grown, we came out with the gym and tri bag that's perfect for triathlon and overbuilt by design. And then we come out with all these mountain bike packs. And now we've got some packs for adventure racing, even though there's 12 adventure racers left in the country, in the U.S. anyway. So, it's to me, we finally hit a point of a well-roundedness. And now it's coming down to a lot of refinement. And we're this year, we released some new version 2.0s of a few of our key packs that are incredible changes. And then, going forward, I'm also working on some other new products to round out our portfolio further. And again, just constantly making the evolve to make the existing products even better. And so it's just really continue growing in both run and bike and keep having a lot of fun while we're doing it is the whole goal.
Okay. So where can we find out more? Is it, do you guys have a website, or do you got certain retailers where we can find out more?
Yeah, so orangemud.com, and on there you can go to our store locator. We're carried in about, I think, 15 countries now, and about 400 retail stores. And but yeah, orangemud.com, and on the web, it's Orange Mud with pretty much every social channel as well.
No, awesome. I'll put those links up on the show notes page. No worries. Of course, as a CEO, or if, somebody who's extremely busy with growing a company and trying to be active on the side as well. How do you balance your work and your training and your personal life?
So that's been tricky, but I tell you what, the past 2 years have been really cool, and I think that's where I was able to get back into racing a lot last year. And we've got a really good team that allows me to go off and play a little bit now. The first 4 years of our business, it was not a balance at all. It was basically my wife took care of the kids and worked also. And then I just slaved. I mean, I ran 2 companies up until year, 3.5 or so. And so I basically worked 7 days a week, usually 15 to 17 hours a day. And that was tough. I mean, it was brutal. But over these past couple of years, we've got our business. It's jamming, which is good. And So what I've done now is I try to work out only during the weekdays. And so where the sacrifice is orange mud. But I'm testing product, so I feel a little bit better about it. But I don't work out on the weekends, and I don't ever work past 7 p.m. Until at least my kids are in bed, and then I'll maybe do some more. But that's helped a lot, is just keeping the weekends free. And I think for most of us that are in endurance, we generally always do big bike rides on Saturdays, big runs on Sundays, whatever. But unfortunately, just the weekends, it's a time we have with our kids. So I really try to make sure I'm spending that with them and my wife. And that's really seemed to help a lot of kind of developing that plan around that. Even with my coach, I've got a coach now, and I told him, I'm not going to work out on the weekends. If I do, it's a hike with them, it's a bike ride with them, it's something like that. But I literally limit my big exercise to a Monday for bike and big run for, I think it's Thursday. It's a new developed plan here. But then everything else is, max 2 hours a day for workout. And then the rest is just, work and family.
Yeah, that's some pretty good advice there. Might start doing that as well.
Yeah.
I guess pretty short nights then.
Yeah, it does. But I tell you, my kids usually go to bed about 8:30 or 9, and then I start working afterwards. And but even so, I don't do it as much as I used to. And even now, a lot of times what I do is I'll just work all during the day. After they go to bed, I'll go ride my trainer in the basement from 9 to 10:30 or 11. And that way I'm getting in exercise. I'm in the house in case anybody needs me, but I'm getting exercise too. And it seems to have been it's really helped me to maximize my day with cramming as much in as possible, but yet having a good thing, a positive release at the end of the day too, to get a good night's sleep after.
Yeah. Okay, cool. With all the stuff that you've accomplished in your career, both your athletic career and your winning races at the time, and then now running a successful company, what do you see as your biggest achievement in your career so far, and what do you see as your biggest disappointment?
Career, for sure. It's been just the success of our business, and I spent my career previous in medical devices, and I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't my own. I helped, 2 other companies build their business, and it was great. I mean, both were great companies, and I really enjoyed it, but to start something from scratch and to see, these designs that came in, roughly in your head, and all of a sudden are on paper, and then in crude prototypes, and then in production, and then to, you can go search hashtag orange mud right now on Instagram. And I just looked yesterday, there was 48,000 people have hashtagged us on just that hashtag. And you just scroll through that feed and you see people of all shapes and sizes that are doing all sorts of things, whether it's their first 5K, their first whatever big hike, with their first 100-mile trail run, their first endurance bike race. And you see they're pumped, and they're not just wearing our packs or wearing our arm warmers or jerseys or shirts or hats and everything. And it's like that to me is the most amazing thing on the planet, that someone would want to post a picture of our stuff on them in a race and be happy about it and talk about it. That's definitely the greatest win you could ever have as a job, is that people love your brand so much they want to help grow it. I mean, it's just incredible. It's the coolest feeling on the planet.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, disappointments?
Yeah, disappointments. I mean, honestly, it's hard to think of disappointments because so much of it, even when there's something bad happens, it's small. But I guess my biggest disappointment would be, the retail in the U.S. is a funny thing. And what I mean by that are specialty running stores in the U.S., bike stores. You see the power of big brands in the U.S. and even stores that are specialty. And this isn't all, of course. We work with a lot of specialty stores and we love them, but we find a lot of them, they carry the big old running or big old hydration brands, and that's just what they do. And it's amazing. You would think that as a small brand, they'd want to support small brands, and we're making more innovative products, more stable, more durable products, and competing price points and everything, and putting a lot of marketing behind it. You've got direct contact. But it is frustrating how hard it is to work with specialty retail. And we find it's so much easier working internationally, because internationally in running retail stores and bike retail stores, people are looking for specialty products. Where in the U.S. we find that a lot of specialty running stores, they're not necessarily looking for specialty retail products. So it's obviously some of it's consumer driven, and then some of it's just, I don't know, it's just the markets are different. So yeah, it's a weird thing for sure. But I'd say that's probably my biggest disappointment, because I feel like at this point that it's odd that we don't work with more specialty retail stores in our entire portfolio. Given, what we invest in, and that's all we sell to. We don't sell to your Costco's or Targets or whatever, so it's it's a weird thing, but again, we have an amazing direct to consumer audience, and we do still have we have over 400 stores we work with, and we love them, but that's definitely probably my frustration that would drive me crazy on a daily basis.
Yeah, okay. Well, but you're definitely doing things right. So, well, good luck with the rest of the company and building it even bigger as it is today. How can people get in touch with you if they want to, Josh?
Yeah, just go to orangemud.com and click on our contact page. You can always get me there, and or just anything on social channels as well. You can always look up Josh Sprague on Facebook, Instagram, and ping me anytime. I'm always available.
All right, cool. Put those links up as well. Well, it was really fun talking to a fellow entrepreneur, but with the only difference is that you succeeded in growing your company. But this was really an interesting chat. I've got one final question to finish things off here today. If you could sit on a bench in a nice park there somewhere and chat for an hour with someone from the past or the present, who would it be and why?
Yeah, I think, man, it'd be tough between. I think I'd have to pick one of my grandpas, and honestly, I don't know which one. Both of them were huge influences, and there's a lot that I learned from my grandpa on one side that I just love to pick his brain more now that I'm older. And but I take my other one, my other grandpa. He fought in World War II, and he had this whole history that I never even really knew of because he'd never talk about it. And I wish being older, I think now I could be able to ask the questions in a way that I'm smart enough. I know more maybe about history that I could actually ask the intelligent questions. And I just love to pick his brain just to learn more about him. I think a lot of times you get older and all of a sudden you realize like your family that you may find different or whatever, you just didn't invest in when you were a kid. You wish you spent more time with, and I think that's what I do.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck with all your endeavors, Josh, and thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Likewise, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Junkies, you've reached the end of yet another episode of the Endurance Junkie podcast. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Josh Sprague for coming on. Now, this show was brought to you by Precision Hydration. Don't forget to take their free online sweat test at precisionhydration.com to get personalized hydration advice for your next race. And don't forget to use the code JUNKIE to get your first Boxer G with pH for free. You just have to pay for postage. Now, every listen means so much to me, so if you like this interview and think someone else would too, feel free to share it on your own social media channels. That would be awesome and very much appreciated. And if you have suggestions for possible future guests, just shoot me an email to peter@junkiepodcast.com and I'll try to make it happen. Alright guys, thanks, and I hope you'll join me next time. Cheers.